While on my trip to Seattle, Kyle had some ideas, really good ideas, on places we could visit. I've been to Seattle before, but it was nice to look at it again with a rental car and go to a couple places that had been on my list for years. But there was one place that hadn't been on my list, and I finally went there, and it was kind of weird because it put me inside of my own brain. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, a podcast about technology, history, and getting myself out of debt. Thanks to Jeff Atwood, Chris Higgins, and the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. The location in question is Scarecrow Video, located a little north of Seattle Central, and it's more than just a video store. It is way more than just that. It's said that it's the only video store still within Seattle city limits, but that's a relative game. A game of here's a business of a certain type, and we've applied some sort of unique flag to it. But I assure you, if you've never heard or you've never been to Scarecrow Video, it is truly unique. Possessing one of the largest physical video collections I've ever seen anywhere, Scarecrow has them all arranged by genre, by subgenre, by sub-subgenre, and then genres I've never heard of, or almost make sense the minute you see them, even though you never thought of them before. You walk in, and the first thing that strikes you are the shelves. Shelves among shelves among shelves, going up on 2 floors, all of them packed absolutely solid with media. Sometimes it's VHS, sometimes it's DVD. In fact, it's mostly DVD and Blu-ray these days. You walk through a bunch of different rooms, almost warrens, places that have tunnels. You go in one door and come out another, having passed by thousands of comedy, horror, documentary. In some cases, you walk into a small cul-de-sac of movies, look up, and all it says is bang. You have to figure out what that means. In the same way, you go up these stairs, and there are even more small rooms filled on every side with physical media. My own relationship with physical media is that I tend to keep it. I don't buy many things physical anymore, but in my 20s and 30s, I would buy everything from small little shops located in the first or sub-first floors in Harvard Square or Boston, places run by often indifferent clerks, but containing all sorts of amazing media, be they comic books, graphic novels, DVDs, VHS tapes. Everything could be found in these locations. But in the expanse of time, they are transient. They are fundamentally things that blow away. The owner dies or moves away or retires. There's attendance problems, foot traffic problems that lead to money problems or tax problems. There's landlords who turn the heat up a little bit too quickly for a place that has no hope of making that sort of income. And they close. They have a goodbye sale. They put everything with little tags telling you how much they could be bought for, and off they go. These little experiences of being inside of these collections for sale form a huge part of my love of compilation, sorting, and putting things together for others. After all, when your inventory measures in the thousands and isn't something directed like a car part or an electronics piece, but instead represents a place laid out for somebody who walks in and has a mood, They want something entertaining. They want something intriguing. Maybe they are looking for number 5, having had numbers 1 through 4 before, but they might not even know number 5 is there unless there's a new location or a location indicating where you would find numbers 1 through 5. It's all the nature of selling wares, of providing access to materials. Therefore, it is part and parcel of the fundamental makeup of what is me. From the era of text files and BBSs all the way up through the Internet Archive, it has been part of my job to compile, to find, to generate, and then try to provide to people guideposts that will enable them, in a relatively short time, to find what they want. By the time that textfiles.com forms in 1998, it is, in its own way, an archive, a compilation, a library, and it's absolutely set up for somebody to come in, see a bunch of genres and classifications, and feel drawn to walk down one of them. Hacking, freaking, anarchy, electronics, messages, just finding a place that you want to explore on your own, without, I rush to add, not holding your hand so tightly that you are not really feeling free, but are instead guided down to the one thing you are supposed to have, instead of what you're feeling you should have. After all, ideally, a place like this is to be returned to. Scarecrow Video does much the same. It has all sorts of little features that leap out every once in a while. I see that they have screenings, regular screenings for cinephiles. I see that they have little events. I also will see things like the horror section having what they call a disgustometer, where they recommend the most extra, the most bring it to me, hot sauce measurement horror films listed on a chart on one of the shelves. How good is the film? They add that later. But first, they give you a couple dozen starting points for what they think of as truly shocking, horrifying film. Or you could reference one of the many cards written by different members of the community or the employees recommending off-the-beaten-path versions of movies that you may have felt like you've seen 1,000 times before, but this one, they suggest, is a little different. There's a magical sense that somebody has brought together a showcase of all of the different random ways we approach film. You may think you want a comedy, but it turns out a drama leaps out to you at the last moment. You may want to go from one side to the other of an action or martial arts or mysterious plot. And it's all designed for you to keep track of it. I looked up the history of Scarecrow Video, trying to figure out the deal. It was started in the 1980s by a family, and then that family had medical issues, overbought rare and unusual cinema items, and while he had been given 6 months to live, the owner had in fact something like 8, and had incurred incredible debts and tax issues. So that should have been the end, like so many others, of Scarecrow Video, but instead it went to a couple owners and became a non-profit. It's a non-profit video store living on the edge of Seattle, providing endless amounts of movies and media with context and events to highlight across the year. Since I was visiting in the month of October, it was absolutely decked out in Halloween. Decorations, signs, everything felt like a home that was part of a neighborhood that would put out their own decorations and their own scary sort of themes to welcome the families, the individuals surrounding them, and allow them to feel in theme. So much of the work that I do for the Internet Archive absolutely feels like I'm setting up Scarecrow Video for texts and music as well as movies, but making these little genres, these finding aids, while letting people go wherever they really want to provide a search engine that allows them to look for phrases and be able to look for terms, but also to make that extra effort to compile things into sometimes wacky subgenres. It's not perfect. It never is. Providing people with direct access allows people to make their own choice. Or they can let their sommelier, their archive curator, provide the way, the path. The archive does have components to allow users to share their own favorite lists. I'm going to be honest and say it's okay. I don't think it's as powerful as it could be. Unfortunately, the story tells itself over and over again. If somebody was to get it just right, if somebody on the outside was to set up a system that really worked as a findability aid, it's going to be for pay within a few years. A little money to keep the servers going, a little money to pay for somebody's salary or living expenses, and the next thing you know, well, we've seen this played out many, many times. On the other hand, feel free to do it. Feel free to do it. Turn the Internet Archive into the Scarecrow Video of your dreams. I've tried my best. It is already a nonprofit. It already doesn't care too much about gatekeeping and telling you that you have to earn the right to get certain things. Where's the next move for all of this potential, this energy that crackles in collection after collection at the archive? I hope it's out there. And until then, like Scarecrow Video, I hope people just come in, feel inspired, and dream. Always dream inside our minds. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It. Thanks to James Bequayanu, Ernie Hershey, Michael Rubin, David Fisher, Sean Kelly, Trixie the Cat, Symbionts, Benjamin Guts, and Anonymous, along with the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. It's simply called Scarecrow Video. I see they always have a campaign called Save Our Scarecrow, which invites people to give money towards them to help them stay in business. That's the price of being a nonprofit. You have to do your best to make a community around you that can help you and make things continue to function. It's just the nature of things. I hope they're always successful with their campaigns, and I hope they're always, always there.